What is going on, everybody? It is your guy here, Rob Kearney, retired professional strongman and current U.S. athlete liaison for World's Strongest Man, joined by the one and only, the 2025 World's Strongest Man, Mr. Rayno Nel. Rayno, how have you been, my friend?
I'm good, Rob. I'm good, especially this time of the year where all the excitement build again for World's Strongest Man. Just excited.
I mean, I have to say the same. Going into the competition this year, with just getting the events a little while ago, I feel like the buzz is starting to come around. All the guys are starting to, get into those training blocks. And we know that, just to touch on a little bit for all the fans watching, we know you were committed to competing at the Arnold Strongman Classic coming up in just about a week, but unfortunately got sick. Do you want to just, I know you put a video out, but just to let people here know, kind of what really happened and why the reason for that decision?
Yeah, so I think it's 3 weeks ago I came down with salmonella infection, so we were hospitalized. In I mean, it was in a span of 7 days. I lost 17 kgs of body weight. So yeah,
Jesus.
unfortunately, it took a big toll on my body. So um, yeah, and I felt really excited about the Arnolds, felt ready to go and compete. So it was a bummer, but unfortunately, I wasn't medically cleared to go and compete at the Arnolds, which, in all honesty, after losing 17 kgs 4 weeks from what's arguably the heaviest competition in the calendar year for strongman, it would have been a tough ask for me to be at my best. So yeah, still a bit bummed about it, but we move on to the next one, and in this case, the next one is the biggest one, the world's strongest man. So yeah, a lot of uh, other exciting stuff, luckily, to keep me locked in for the year.
I love that. No, I mean, listen, as somebody that did the sport for so long, it's one of those smart decisions, one of those smart, difficult decisions you have to make. I mean, losing that much weight in that short of time before going into such a heavy show, again, like you said, you would have been at a pretty big disadvantage, not feeling your best, certainly not your strongest. So I think the one thing I want to know is, so you're going into World's Strongest Man last year, pretty much a dark horse, right? Like, people within the strongman community knew your name. They knew how well you did on the SCL circuit. Coming into World's Strongest Man, I don't really think that you were really on anybody's radar to win the show. But here you go. You come out, you win your rookie year at World's Strongest Man, which hasn't been done in decades. The thing I want to know is, how has your life changed in the past year since winning World's Strongest Man?
Yeah, I think that's something that only the few people that have won World's Strongest Man can truly comprehend. This, it's life changing. There's no other way. The people I've met, the opportunities I had this past year, yeah, it's stuff that I think I've never would have been able to do and experience if I haven't won World's Strongest Man. So it has kept me away from a lot of stuff, and it's all good. I mean, I've really enjoyed this past year, but then on the same time, I can also tell you is I don't want it to end. That's why I work hard so I can retain the title. But yeah, winning World's Strongest Man is truly, you can only describe it as life changing.
I love that. No, I mean, it's something I've never been able to experience. So I can only imagine how cool it must be. Going into the competition this year, we just got the events just a couple of weeks ago. Has that changed your mindset? Has that changed your feelings, or really has anything changed since learning the events going into World's Strongest Man this year? Do you feel really strongly about some events? Are you worried about some events? Kind of give us your take on the qualifiers and the finals.
Yeah, I think there's a lot of stuff that I'm excited about. Truck pull is something that I'm really excited about having in at World's Strongest Man. Squat is something that since doing strongman, there's never been a squat in any competition. So I've never really pushed on strongman for a squat. And to be honest, I'm still so new in the sport. I'm doing the sport now just over 3 years. So that's something in a span of 2 months now until we go for World's Strongest Man. Need to get my squat strong. So that's something that's a big unknown for me. But in terms of the other events, I mean, it's good events. I think it's going to be an exciting World's Strongest Man. I like it that the Titans toss is returning. That was a fun event last year. The max log in the final, it's something I haven't had a chance to do a max log since starting strongman. I think I'm a bit notorious now for not having a strong overhead, so that's something that I like to push on and to show people that I actually can press a bit as well. So no, honestly, it's a lot of exciting events. I would have loved it if there were a max deadlift. That's the one thing that I'm a bit bummed about, because that's also like the max log, something that I haven't really had a chance to do and show that I can also be competitive with a max deadlift. But overall, it's a lot of exciting events for this year.
Well, I mean, the nice thing is we do have that deadlift for reps that is going to be pretty heavy. So
True.
at least you'll get to show some deadlift power there for sure. You said something in the fact that you've only been doing strongman for about 3 years, which is wildly impressive and frustrating from somebody that just retired. To see the amount of success, you've been able to have in such a short amount of time. Before strongman, you were a high level rugby player, doing that. What was really the reason for coming out of rugby and transitioning into strongman, and have some of the things you learned in rugby help teach you how to be a better strongman athlete?
Yeah, so my transition wasn't directly stop playing rugby and go to strongman. There was a 2 year gap in between, and I think that, or a 3 year gap, and that was what really made me wanted to do a competitive sport again. I stopped rugby, went into my profession of being an engineer, and it's just always something felt missing. I wanted to be a competitive athlete, and strongman was a yeah, something that just it clicked and I wanted to pursue it. And in terms of what I've learned in rugby, I think mindset, if you've been a professional in one sport, there's a big carryover in how to take a loss if you have a bad event, how to just ground yourself and get ready, put it all behind you and just go to the next event and be competitive again. That's the one thing. And I think the biggest carryover for rugby is just being a movable athlete. So many times people just transitioning in medleys between weights, and there's so much time that people leave on the table there. Where I think where rugby has really helped me in that sense.
I love that. I think that was the thing that I loved most about this sport as well. I played American football when I was younger, and then transitioned to doing some powerlifting. And then when I found strongman, I loved it so much because you had to be an athlete, right? Like you had to learn how to be fast. You had to have some level of agility. Your conditioning always has to be high, because I know a lot of people look at our sport and they see, well, they only work for 60, 75 seconds. And I always tell people, try sprinting at 100% for 60 seconds. It's really hard, and that's what we do while lifting hundreds and thousands of pounds. Let's talk about mindset going into World's Strongest Man this year. Last year, rookie year, again, we talked about it. No real, eyes on you. You knew what you were capable of, and you just kind of slid by, did your thing, and obviously came out on top. This year, you're kind of coming in with a target on your back, right? Reigning World's Strongest Man champion. The same setups in the qualifiers as last year, where the points count overall and dictate your placing going into the final. How has that shaped your mindset training for World's Strongest Man this year? A year between the competitions is a long time. Obviously, now you have a lot more eyes on your training, and guys are looking to see what you're doing. So, talk to us about the difference from last year to this year, from going from, the dark horse to champion to now training for a full year as the World's Strongest Man.
Yeah, I think the biggest thing for me is last year, this time I haven't had an invite yet. So I was training in the hopes that I might get invited. With this year, I know that I'm going to World's Strongest Man. I've already had my invite. So I think for me, that's the only difference. I take any competition I go to, I take it one training session at a time. When I get to the event, I take it one, or the competition, I take it one event at a time. So I never I'm not the kind of person that sit back and think, yeah, it would be so nice to win this competition and what will be from that. I enjoy the graft of it. I enjoy going to my next training session. So I think in terms of that, it's exactly the same for me as last year. I just want to take it the next training session. I think I'm really not someone that's bothered with someone else's expectations of me. I know what I want to achieve, and I just go about my business.
I love that. Going into the competition this year, talk to me about who you're most excited to compete against. For me, when I was competing, whenever I knew I was going up against, the best athletes, my performance always elevated a little bit, right? Like my best performance at World's Strongest Man was 2019 when I was in the heat with Luke and Thor and we were battling back and forth. Is it the same for you? When you know that you're getting going against a top competition, does that elevate your performance? And who are you most excited to compete against this year?
Yeah, look, of course, I have so much respect for these guys. As you know what they go through because you go through it yourself. There's a couple of guys. I mean, Martin's coming back. I haven't competed against him yet. I think someone like Evan Singleton, I only had one chance to compete against him in the past. So there's a lot of guys that I'm excited to go against. But at the end of the day, as soon as you start competing, it's your opponent. There's no place then for looking up to someone. Then it's my opponent. But yeah, I mean, World's Strongest Man is the pinnacle. So everyone show up there the best that they will be the entire year. So that's what excites me the most is you really know that every one of the 25 guys there is in their best shape.
So you talk about World's Strongest Man being the pinnacle. It is the main event of our sport. We are currently 8 weeks out from the competition. Walk us through what the next 8 weeks are going to look like in the life of Rayno Nel, preparing for World's Strongest Man 2026.
Yeah, I think with my setback now, first of all, is retaining all my body weight. Luckily, I'm almost there. So I think 2 weeks more of really trying to get back to my old self. And then it's just focusing, but as close as we get to the competition, focusing on events. So where I think most of the guys now are done with the blocks of just building strength. Now we start going into the fun stuff of actually doing throwing bags like in the competition, getting trucks and pulling a truck, actually going and doing the Atlas stone. So the fun part is now the next 8 weeks is where you actually simulate competition the whole time.
I mean, that was always the time of the year that, like, my nerves would go up and, the training would really dial in. And that's when everything matters, right? Like your sleep every single night, every single rep in warm ups and training, what recovery you're doing in between. So for me, while it's the most exciting, it's also the most stressful part of the season for us.
Yeah, and it's the time also where you think twice before you just tell family and friends, yes, I'll go out and eat some dinner with you in public places. You're so scared of doing anything that will compromise you just showing up at your best.
Yeah, I mean, I remember like I would be asked to go play golf or go play pickleball and like go do these things with my friends. And I'd have to tell them no. I'm like, sorry, either I have to train or, I don't want it to I don't want it to make me miss a meal or, any of those things. So making some of those sacrifices is where it all really matters. One last thing that I want to talk about is, mentioned it a couple times. First year at World's Strongest Man, taking the win. We have a couple of rookies coming into World's Strongest Man this year. What is your advice to these rookies the first time they come to World's Strongest Man? We know World's Strongest Man is a much different competition than the other events that will go on throughout the year. So for these new athletes coming into Worlds this year, what is something that you can tell them that's going to help them get the best performance out of them being on the biggest stage?
I think the biggest thing is don't get overhyped. World's Strongest Man is 4 days of competition. So if you get there and for the first event you smell all your smelling salts and drink all your pre-workouts and get yourself so overexcited, you're gonna get a big dump for the second and the third and the fourth events coming up. That's the first thing. And the second thing is if you don't feel you belong there, just fake it. I mean, at the end of the day, as soon as you're on that stage, you're one of the competitors. Don't think you don't belong there.
No, I love that. And, something that I learned too, even when I got deeper into my career, is I would never take pre workout or any kind of stimulant before the first event. For me, it was like my natural adrenaline and nerves were going to get me through that event. And sometimes I would get too excited before and make some mistakes that I normally could avoid. So I love that advice, right? Like, don't go too crazy on the pre-workout and the smelling salts in the first event. Get your feet underneath you, learn what it's like to compete there, and then you can be off to the races. Well, I will say, Rayno, it's been a pleasure catching up with you. I am so excited to see you in just a few weeks. World's Strongest Man coming up in 8 weeks. Gonna be a great year in Myrtle Beach. We are excited to see you back on the competition floor. Wish you all the best in the last few weeks of training. Make sure you get healthy. Make sure you gain that weight back. And hey, We'll see you in Myrtle Beach in just a few weeks for World's Strongest Man 2026.
Thanks, Rob.